In this movie, I'll show you how to transform multiple fills and strokes independently of each other in order to turn this boring ellipse into this ostensibly more exciting effect here. Now, the first thing I want you to note is that this ellipse is selected. It's a little hard to tell because we're seeing red anchor points against an orange stroke background. But you can see this red center point right there, and you can also see the word ellipse up here in the far left side of the control panel. But I want you to notice this warning right there. If you hover over it, it's going to tell you that the topmost fill and stroke is not active. If you click here, that will make them active. So notice right now we're seeing a green fill and a green stroke, even though the top stroke in the stack here in the appearance panel is orange, and the top fill is this lighter orange, almost yellow. Well, so notice if I click on the caution icon, the stroke does indeed turn orange, but the fill turns blue, and that's because blue is the color of the topmost visible fill. So I just want you to know what's going on where that little caution icon is concerned. What I'm going to do is turn on all the fills like so, and I'm also going to change all the strokes to a line weight of just 12 points because I like how the effect looks better that way. And now I'm going to go ahead and drag the orange fill down so that all the fills are grouped together, and I'm going to select that orange fill. And I'm going to drop down to the FX icon. Notice that guy right there next to the stroke and fill icons down here in the bottom left corner of the appearance panel. Go ahead and click on it, and you'll see a long list of what are known as dynamic effects. Now, I'll be devoting an entire chapter to this topic, but for now, just go ahead and choose Distort and Transform, and then choose what is undoubtedly my favorite of the dynamic effects, Transform. And that'll bring up the Transform Effect dialog box. At which point, I'll just go ahead and move it a little bit on screen. I'm going to turn on the preview checkbox so we can see what we're doing, and I'll change the angle value to, let's say, 20 degrees, and I'll press the Tab key. And notice that goes ahead and transforms that one fill independently of the others, and that's because that orange fill is selected here inside the appearance panel. After which point, I'll go ahead and click the OK button in order to apply that effect. All right, now I want to do something similar for the green fill, so I'll go ahead and click it in order to select it, and then I'll drop down to the FX icon once again, choose Distort and Transform, choose Transform, and then this time I'll just dial in a value of negative 20 degrees. Notice we're not seeing a preview, and that's because the preview checkbox automatically turns itself off every single time, which means that you have to turn it on in order to invoke that effect on screen, after which point you can click OK in order to apply that effect. All right, now I want to transform the orange stroke, so I'll go ahead and click on it, and then drop down to the FX icon, choose Distort and Transform, and choose Transform, and I'll go ahead and enter, let's say, negative 40 degrees, and because I know what's coming, I'll just go ahead and click OK. Oh, but actually, I got that wrong. What happens if I decide that's not really the degree of rotation I want to apply? Well, then notice the stroke attribute right here. It has a little triangle in front of it, which indicates that you can twirl it open in order to see an opacity option if you want to adjust that, but you also have this transform effect. And you're only going to see that if you've applied the effect. Notice if I twirl open the green stroke, there is no transform because I have not applied a transform effect at this point. So I'll just go ahead and click on Transform in order to bring back up that Transform Effect dialog box. I'll turn on the preview this time to make sure I do this right. And then I'll get rid of the minus sign and press the Tab key. And sure enough, there's where I want the stroke to be, at which point I'll click OK in order to apply that effect. Now, you can duplicate these guys if you want to from one attribute to another. And you do that by dragging and dropping. So if you just drag and drop Transform from the orange stroke to the green one, then you'll just go ahead and rotate the green stroke instead of the orange one. That's not what I want to do, so I'll press Control-Z or Command-Z on the Mac to undo that change. And instead what you do is you press the Alt key or the Option key on the Mac, and then you drag, transform, and drop it onto the stroke, like so. And that will go ahead and transform the green stroke as well. The reason we can't see it is it's underneath the orange stroke, and I can show you that's the case by turning the orange stroke off for a moment. So there's the green stroke right under the orange one. If I want to change it to the opposite direction, then I'll go ahead and click on its transform, and I'll enter a minus sign this time around, turn on the preview checkbox to make sure I've done it right, and click OK. All right, now I'll just go ahead and twirl both of these guys closed, And I actually want the green stroke to be on top, so I'll just go ahead and drag it and drop it on top. I also want the green fill to be on top of the orange fill, so I'll go ahead and drag it and drop it upward as well. And you can drag and drop multiple attributes at a time. For example, I could click on this stroke, shift-click on this one, and drag and drop them all below the fills if I prefer them to work that way. Or if things are non-sequential, I could click on one fill and then Control or Command click on another, and then Control or Command click on another one like so, and then drag them and drop them down. At this point, however, I've pretty much made a mess of things, so I'll just go ahead and drag this fill downward, and then I will drag this stroke upward to, I believe, second from top is what I'm looking for, and I want the green fill to be above the orange fill as well. That's how you transform, by which I mean scale, rotate, or move one fill or stroke attribute independently of the others using the transform effect here inside the appearance panel.